Traffic, Baron 905, 8 Papa, departing runway 35, departing in the north. This is an emergency, I need to deal with it, I need to put this thing down.
My name is Jensen. I'm from Exeter, Nebraska. Grew up on a farm, family farm there, and currently live in Lincoln, Nebraska, and work in commodity risk management.
I'm Jensen. Drew, my husband, and I have been married for 17 years.
Aviation's always been a large part of my life. I got my private pilot's license right after college. I mean, ever since the kids were born, within them being 6 months old, they've flown with me, and it's always been a part of our family. My father was always a role model to me. Aviation was always a big part of his life. He started flying right out of high school, and it was always a big passion of his, and it was easy to become a big passion of mine. So in 2014, myself and a couple business partners had the opportunity to start our own business, Trados. It started out as just us three. As we've added more staff and more clients, just the roles and responsibilities that we all have to take on is ever increasing. And certain days it feels like you're getting pulled in so many different directions and you're not doing any of them great. While things on the surface and everything was going very well, I could tell, and I think Lindsay could tell as well, that there was a part of us that was missing something.
It was Monday morning. It was a typical fall morning. It was about this time of year.
Myself and two business partners, we had plans to fly to Madison, Alabama to visit one of my coworkers. They had, at the time, an A36 Bonanza, which is a single-engine plane. On a single-engine plane, there's two fuel tanks, a left and a right, and it's fairly common that the practice is you switch fuel tanks every half an hour just to try to keep the weight level. We were at about 9,000 feet just northeast of Manhattan, Kansas, and I switched the fuel tank from right to left, and halfway between switching from right to left, the roll pin that holds the lever on the fuel tank selector broke. And what that did was create a fuel starvation. I wasn't on one tank or the other, I was in between both fuel tanks.
We were getting ready to go, and that was early in the morning, and we're loading up, and as we're walking out the door, Drew calls.
We knew we were gonna have to put it down at some point, somewhere. Didn't look from our radar that I could actually make that airport, and so we were gonna have to put it down either on a road or a pasture or something. It all happened so fast, and you just try to take over and say, okay, we got one thing, we gotta put this thing down on the ground to the best of our ability. We couldn't have asked for a better spot to put it down. It was a nice, freshly mowed and baled pasture, and very much lucked out from that perspective. When we landed, I called her and I said, just so you know, just right off the bat, I'm fine, everyone's okay, no one's hurt, but here's what happened.
At that moment, it was such shock. I couldn't even comprehend it. I was like, yeah, he's flying to Alabama, but he emergency landed and he's in Kansas?
I think at that moment, it kind of set in even more, just kind of cemented that, okay, this really did just happen, and how this could have changed 3 families and more if it would have not went so well.
You just start going down this rabbit hole of what if that wasn't Drew that called? What if it was somebody tell me they didn't make it? It was frightening. I just thought, how am I going to tell the boys their dad's gone? And I couldn't even imagine it. It was just it's just like you're going through your day and your everyday life, and life can be taken away so quickly to you and you don't realize it.
The next day, my friend Greg Birchler called me and said they had a couple extra seats at this dinner. And
Drew said, oh, hey, let's go. And I thought, that's kind of odd. I don't know, should we be going to this? Like, I didn't, you just don't know what to do that week.
Coming up here to the Osborne's house, it was very welcoming, very inviting. And shortly after, Brian and Jonathan started playing some music. Brian played a song called Learning to Fly. He said most people know the Tom Petty song, and they think that it's about doing drugs and getting high and coming down off that high, that coming down is the hardest thing. He said that's not it at all. And so I read an interview with Tom Petty, and he said it was truly about flying an airplane, and that it's not hard to take off, but landing's the hardest thing, coming down the hardest thing.
Drew kind of backed up towards me, and as soon as he started playing it, he just grabbed my leg. Drew's kind of got teary-eyed and was like taking a deep breath, and as we were leaving the Osbornes, we're driving away, it was quiet in the car. He said, I just feel like that was a sign from God that we need to bring him back into our life. We haven't been doing a good job about it. Drew said, I'm gonna do Rogue. I said, I fully support you. I think that's a great idea.
Harbor is something you can't describe until you do it. But obviously leading up to Rogue and going to the actual first event in Estes, you don't know what to expect. It's 20 people showing up from all over the country with an open mind and a desire just to take a step back and understand what taking quiet space means and just be ready for an experience. Within Rogue, we learn about living in with rhythm, and it's not so much balance, but living with rhythm. And what Tim and his group are showing us how to do as leaders is to slow that down and find that rhythm. And if you don't, you're going to burn yourself out. The fact that we came out of it safely and it did lead me to Rogue and the Rogue event.
I don't believe in coincidences or accidents. I think everything really happens for a reason, and even if it's something negative or something bad, you have to look at it and say, okay, what am I going to take from this and turn this into something better?
And when you go through it, it just helps slow your mind down, slow down, get some space, recharge your batteries so you can approach life in a different way. And for me, that's created an opportunity to be a better father, a better husband, and a better coworker.